Ed Sheeran had always been a favorite on late-night television, his soft-spoken humor and easygoing charm making him a welcomed guest on almost any show. When he appeared on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon for what was supposed to be a lighthearted interview promoting his latest album, no one could have anticipated that the night would end with tension so thick it could be felt through the screen. The audience had gathered with excitement, cheering as Jimmy Fallon introduced the British singer-songwriter with his usual burst of enthusiasm. Ed entered the stage smiling, guitar in hand, waving at fans before taking his seat beside Fallon. The first few moments were typical of a late-night chat. Jimmy praised Ed's new record, joked about his songwriting process, and even tried to imitate his British accent, drawing laughter from the audience. Everything seemed perfectly normal until the conversation took an unexpected turn. Fallon, known for occasionally steering interviews toward viral moments, began asking questions that appeared to touch nerves. He asked about Ed's rumored disagreements with other artists and his recent decisions to step back from social media. Sheeran, who is known for being private and thoughtful, initially tried to answer diplomatically, smiling awkwardly while keeping the conversation light. But Fallon pressed further, repeatedly pushing about a supposed feud Ed had with another pop star. Ed's expression changed subtly, his relaxed demeanor tightening, his tone lowering. "You know, Jimmy," he said with a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, "I really don't think that's something worth talking about. I make music, not drama." The audience chuckled, sensing the tension but still expecting it to dissolve into a joke. Fallon, perhaps misreading the room, laughed and nudged again, suggesting that there must be some truth to the rumors. "Come on, man, you can't just say there's nothing there. People talk about this stuff for a reason." Ed adjusted his seat, strummed a small note on the guitar beside him as if to diffuse the mood, but his silence spoke volumes. Fallon laughed again, trying to keep things light, but the energy had shifted. What was meant to be a playful back and forth had started to feel like an interrogation. Ed finally looked up and said quietly, "I thought we were here to talk about music, not gossip." His voice was calm, but the firmness behind it made the studio fall silent for a brief moment. Fallon, visibly uncomfortable, tried to recover by pivoting back to the album, but the spark of awkwardness lingered. He mentioned a lyric from one of Ed's songs that fans had been analyzing online, implying it was about someone specific. "So, is that line about a certain singer you used to tour with?" Fallon asked, smirking as the audience gasped in amusement. Ed blinked, forced a smile, and said, "It's about life, Jimmy. Not everything's about someone else." It should have ended there, but Fallon's habit of teasing for entertainment pushed him to continue. "Come on, Ed, just tell us the name, give the people a headline." That's when Ed's patience seemed to snap. His voice stayed level, but his body language changed. He leaned forward, placed his guitar back on the stand beside the chair, and said, "You know, I've done hundreds of these shows. I always come on to play, to share music, and have a laugh. But when it starts feeling like I'm here for clickbait instead of conversation, it's not really fun anymore." The audience went quiet again, unsure whether to laugh or stay silent. Fallon raised his hands defensively, saying, "Hey, man, I'm just having fun. It's all love." But Ed shook his head slightly, his expression showing a mix of disappointment and frustration. "Yeah, but sometimes fun turns into something else, doesn't it?" he replied softly. Fallon's grin faltered. The camera cut awkwardly between them, and the crew could be seen offstage signaling for a commercial break, but Ed wasn't done. He continued, "Look, I came here because I respect this show and I've always had a good time. But I don't do this kind of thing, turning my personal life into a joke. I've been through enough media nonsense for 10 lifetimes." His words carried weight, and even those in the audience who had come for a laugh were quiet, sensing that something real was happening on stage. Fallon tried to lighten it again by saying, "All right, fair enough, no more gossip. Let's talk about the new single." He smiled nervously, glancing at the teleprompter, but Ed didn't smile back this time. He sighed, adjusted his mic, and looked toward the audience. "Honestly, maybe it's better if we just call it a night," he said. The audience gasped, and Fallon looked stunned. "Wait, what do you mean?" "We've got the performance coming up," Jimmy said, his voice slightly panicked. Ed stood up slowly, offering an apologetic look to the crowd. I'm sorry, everyone. I don't want to make a scene. I just think it's best I leave this one here. Fallon, caught between host instincts and genuine surprise, tried to salvage the moment by laughing it off. Come on, Ed, you're not serious, don't walk out on me. But Ed only shook his head, muttered, thanks for having me, and began walking toward the backstage area. The audience was half applauding, half murmuring in disbelief. Fallon called out, we'll be right back after the break. As the show cut to commercials abruptly, leaving viewers stunned. Backstage, crew members tried to calm things down, but reports later suggested that Ed refused to return for the musical performance that was scheduled for later in the episode. Sources close to the show claimed that the confrontation had been brewing from the start. Apparently, Ed's team had requested beforehand that no personal questions be asked, particularly about relationships or celebrity rumors. Fallon's producers, however, had reportedly encouraged him to push those very topics to stir conversation and drive engagement. When Ed realized that boundary was crossed, he decided to walk off rather than escalate it further. After the episode aired, social media exploded with speculation. Clips from the awkward exchange began circulating online, with fans defending Ed's reaction. Good for him for standing up for himself, one viewer tweeted. Fallon went too far trying to make drama. Others sided with Fallon, saying he was just doing his job and that Ed overreacted. But those who followed Ed Sheeran's career knew that he'd always valued authenticity and avoided tabloid-style publicity. Walking off wasn't an impulsive act, it was a statement. In the hours following the broadcast, the show's producers reportedly tried to edit the segment before uploading it online. The official YouTube upload of that episode skipped straight to a different interview, avoiding the uncomfortable confrontation entirely. Fans who watched it live, however, began uploading clips recorded from their TVs, fueling even more attention. For a few days, Ed Sheeran and Jimmy Fallon trended worldwide, with thousands debating who was in the wrong. Some entertainment insiders claimed that Fallon reached out privately to apologize, while others suggested the two men had spoken afterward and agreed it had gotten out of hand. Neither Ed nor Fallon issued a direct public statement, but during a later concert, Ed briefly alluded to the situation, saying, "Sometimes you've just got to walk away from noise and keep doing what you love." The crowd cheered, interpreting it as his indirect confirmation of what had happened. Behind the scenes, NBC reportedly reviewed the segment to determine whether production rules had been broken regarding guest agreements. Fallon, known for his usually friendly hosting style, faced minor criticism for pushing too far for a viral moment. Meanwhile, fans praised Ed's composure and the way he handled himself under pressure. Months later, when asked in another interview about his experiences on talk shows, Ed simply smiled and said, "I think conversations should be about music, not rumors. I'd rather play a song than talk about something that doesn't matter." It was a graceful way to put the matter behind him. The incident, though uncomfortable, underscored a bigger truth about the entertainment world. Even the most beloved personalities can reach a breaking point when privacy is ignored for ratings. Ed's walk-off became symbolic, an artist choosing integrity over spectacle. It was a rare, raw moment of honesty in an industry often built on performance. And